Hey everyone. So in the part 1 we set up the SD card partition and tested with the U-boot. And so now we are going to copy the root file system in the first partition and similarly in the second partition. But while doing so, we are also going to make sure that all the files are copied properly. So after I have run this command to copy the image root partition into the first root file system, we will verify that. Basically what we will do is we will try to copy the files again, and if there is any difference it should show us, or if the files are exactly the same, so that won't be an issue. So let us try to run this again. And you can see that no files are copied. This means that we have copied the whole folder. So now we do the same for the second partition, and we will verify the second partition as well. So now we need to do some things before we flash them onto the board. So first thing that we're going to do is we need to update the fstab file in the folder of the root file system. So it will tell the OS that the partition that we use for the root file system is this and that. So for OS1 and OS2, the partition is going to be different. So for first file system, the partition is going to be the second one, and for the second file system, the partition is going to be the third one. So we need to mention that in the fstab files. So we update the corresponding fstab files and we flash them onto the root file system, and then we create mount points for both data and boot folders into the root file system. And we are doing all of this for both first and second root file system. So after we have done that, we are going to copy some files. We need to copy the kernel file into the boot folder as image, and then we are going to copy the initrid file, and we are going to name that initrid.img, and we are going to place those files in the boot file system. So now so basically when you log into a new root file system, the password can be unknown. So before flashing the file systems, we're going to create our own user and password in both of the file systems. So we are going to create a user pi, and we will use different passwords for both first and second root file system. So for first one we will set the password to RI, and for the second one we will set the password to RE. So we create that, and using OpenSSL we write those password and user into the shadow file. So once that is done, we are going to rename both of these host names for both first and the second root file system. So for the first one, let's say we will use Raspberry Pi OS1, and for the second one we'll use Raspberry Pi OS2. So you can see that right now the the host name is Raspberry Pi. So we will update that, and for the first one we'll set it to Pi OS1, and for the second one we will set it to Pi OS2. So these are the files that we have updated: fstab file and boot folder. We placed a new file there. We created custom usernames and user password, and we updated the host names. Okay, so now we will copy some scripts that I have. So I have these 5 scripts here, and the connect Wi-Fi, and the connect Wi-Fi will connect to Wi-Fi. So we can just save our credentials in a file, and this will pick that file and connect to the Wi-Fi if that is available. Fix U-boot environment, and that will look for the U-boot environment file, and if there is any issue with that, and if the root file system can't access that file properly, it will fix that issue. It will create a new file and map it properly to the firmware config file in the root file system. And switching boot file, that will switch the OS partition, that will basically change the next partition to the if we are using partition A, then we can set it to partition B, and if we're using partition B, then we can set it to partition A. Okay, now we are going to flash that into the SD card. Let's see. So we are going to run the first OS. This will be the first Pi OS. It takes a lot of time to boot for the first time, or so these are all the services that we can configure to disable in the, if you don't want the boot to take this long, we can just configure it to skip all these services. Alright, we have the first OS, and let's try to log in using the password pi and RI. Okay, so we're in the OS 1. So now what we're going to do is, first we're going to make sure all of our U-boot environment file is working properly, and we'll try to connect to Wi-Fi. So this will tell us to set the password and SSID, but we can also use the Raspberry Pi config menu. So in that, we are going to specify the Wi-Fi name and password, and it should connect. Let's try to exit the menu, and let's ping google.com. Alright, so our Wi-Fi is connected. So now we're going to test the status of our partition using the switch boot. Okay, so we need to create this file first, the firmware env.config file. So this is the file that will be indirectly accessing the U-boot environment variable. So we have updated that file, and we need to make a change here. This should not be here. Okay, save. I think we need to sudo in it. These are the system environment variables, but we need the firmware or the U-boot. So I believe we need to install the U-boot tools first. So let's try that. Okay, let's try to run the switch boot. Oh, so okay, I see. U-boot tools are not properly installed right now. Let's just try to install these tools. Okay, so we have the U-boot tools. Okay, so this is how the command works. We can either try to verify the status or switch the partition or revert it. So we try to switching partition to the next partition. Okay, so we can't access the variables right now. So now we are going to fix the U-boot environment. That's where this command comes in. So the variables are set now. We can try to switch, and it will switch to the OS partition B for the next boot. And next we can just verify the status and reboot it. Now the partition that we are going to get is going to be the second one. We can also verify that in the U-boot menu here, that the partition B is going to be booted now. So again, we are going to fast forward from here. Alright, we have the OS2 here. So we need to do the same step to set up OS2 now. We will connect the Wi-Fi and install the U-boot tools, and after that we're going to do the switching back, and we're going to go back to the first partition. You can see that the OS U-boot tools are not installed, so we are going to install those, and then first connect the Wi-Fi, and then install the U-boot tools, and after that we are going to try the switch boot, and we'll need to fix the environment variables for this partition also. So let's try that, and after that is done, we will switch back to the first partition using the command that is present here: switch boot and switch sudo reboot. So now we should go back to the first partition, first root file system. So here we are in the first partition now. So now what we did here is we set up both file system A and B, and we configured the file system username, host names. After that we set up boot points, mount points for the boot and data for files, and after that was done, we tested partition A and did the steps for initial configuration, and we switched it to the partition B, and after establishing the partition B, we switched back to file system A. So the scripts that I am using here, I will share these scripts in the description here, and you can get these files and let me know if that helps you. Thanks a lot for watching.